Hi everyone, welcome to reading the Communist Manifesto. Today I'm actually going to read portions of the Communist Manifesto out of this version. This is actually straight from the Marxist publishers, international publishers. So there you have it. This is the reading that I'm doing is in your econ assignments packet. You can follow along, and what I want to point you to first is the Comparing Index West Communism and Richards. It's in your packet. It's later on. It's after the Unit 3 Oral Exam Study Guide. All I want to do here real quick is this is a kind of a boiled down version of the 10 planks of communism. I sometimes call them the 10 commandments of communism. It's in the Communist Manifesto, and it's the 10 steps for implementing communism. The 10 planks of communism: 1, abolish private property. 2, have a heavy progressive tax. 3, abolish the right of inheritance. 4, confiscate property of immigrant and rebels. 5, centralize credit. 6, centralize the means of communication and transport. 7, centralize all means of production. 8, obligate all to work. 9, combine town and country, agriculture and industry. And finally, freely educate children in public schools. We'll be comparing those 10 with other lists of 10 in economics as we go along, but those are the 10 planks of communism, and we'll see them in the reading today. They're listed out. So from the Communist Manifesto, the Manifesto of the Communist Party by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, page 30 to 31. We have seen above that the first step in the revolution by the working class is to raise the proletariat to the position of the ruling class to win the battle of democracy. So notice democratic language here. The proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrest, by degree, all capital from the bourgeoisie, to centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state, of the proletariat organized as the ruling class, and to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. Of course, in the beginning, this cannot be effected except by the means of, catch it, despotic inroads on the rights of property, on the condition of bourgeois production, by means of measures, therefore, which appear economically insufficient and untenable, but which in the course of the movement outstrip themselves, necessitate further inroads upon the old social order, and are unavoidable as means of entirely revolutionizing the mode of production. These measures will, of course, be different in different countries. Nevertheless, in most advanced countries, the following will be pretty generally applicable. And here are the 10 planks of communism, the 10 ways to institute this in any country. Notice this is expansionistic, this is universal. This is the way that you need to implement communism anywhere and everywhere. And these are the steps that you take to do this. Right? You all really should notice throughout this document that this is overtly not only just basic economic steps, but it's violent means for overthrowing the existing systems throughout any country. Now, skipping over 1 through 10, when in the course of development, class distinctions have disappeared and all production has been concentrated in the hands of the vast association of the whole nation, the public power will lose its political character. Political power, properly so called, is merely the organized power of one class for oppressing another. If the If the proletariat, during its contest with the bourgeoisie, is compelled by the force of circumstances to organize itself as a class, if by means of a revolution, it makes itself the ruling class. So if it needs to become the ruling class, the proletariat, the workman can become the ruling class. And as such, sweeps away by force the old conditions of production, then it will, along with these conditions, have swept away the conditions for the existence of class antagonisms and classes generally, and will thereby have abolished its own supremacy as a class. In place of the old bourgeois society, with its class and class antagonisms, we shall have an association in which the free development of each is the condition for the free development of all. So notice developmental language in the new class. And notice a new class. So this isn't the abolishment of new class. Another thing that we're going to notice here is it just the working man, the common working man, who can do this or make it happen? Actually, there's going to be there's going to be an inherent leadership class that comes out of the working class. This is a big deal. Language distinctions here. Now, back to page 9, to the beginning. Page 9. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggle. Okay, so all of history is class struggle. Free man and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and serf, guildmaster and journeyman, in a word, oppressor and oppressed. Notice from my other videos, this is the succession of the oppressor versus the oppressed. Stood in constant opposition to one another. So this is the dialectic nature, binary opposition. Constant oppression to one another, carried on and in uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight, a fight that each time ended either in a revolutionary reconstitution of society at large or in the common ruin of the contending classes. In the earlier epochs of history, we find almost everywhere a complicated arrangement of society into various orders, a manifold gradation of social rank. In ancient Rome, we have patricians, knights, plebeians, slaves. In the Middle Ages, feudal lords, vassals, guildmasters, journeymen, apprentices, serfs. In almost all these classes, again, subordinate gradations. The modern bourgeois society that has sprouted from the ruins of feudal society has not done away with class antagonisms. It has but established new classes, new conditions of oppression, new forms of struggle in the place of old ones. Our epoch, the epoch of the bourgeoisie, possesses, however, this distinct feature. It has simplified class antagonisms. Society as a whole is more and more splitting up into two great hostile camps, into two great classes directly facing each other, bourgeoisie and proletariat. Page 11. The bourgeoisie, wherever it has got the upper hand, has put an end to all feudal, patriarchal, idyllic relations. It has pitilessly torn asunder the motley feudal ties that bound man to his natural superiors, and has left remaining no other nexus between man and man than naked self-interest, than callous cash payment. Notice the Smithian language there. It has drowned the most heavenly ecstasies of religious fervor, of chivalrous enthusiasm, of Philistine sentimentalism in the icy water of egotistical calculation. Notice the the ethical terminology there. It has resolved personal worth into exchange value. So this is the eradication of the traditional family, as that I mentioned under my Marxism video. All right, it is exchange value in the place of the numberless indefeasible chartered freedoms, has set up that single unconscionable freedom, free trade. There it is, free trade. It's an unconscionable freedom. In one word, for exploitation. That is what's going on with capitalism. It's exploitation, veiled by, note, religious and political illusions. It has substituted naked, shameless, direct, brutal exploitation. We'll stop there for now. We'll see next video for reading communism.